She betrayed me on a work trip. Divorce papers in her hotel couldn't end our story. The hotel confrontation. The Grand Plaza Hotel's lobby gleamed with afternoon light filtering through crystal chandeliers. Dante's hands trembled as he gripped the manila envelope containing divorce papers. 3 days ago, a single photograph sent by an anonymous number had destroyed his world. Raina, his wife of 4 years, kissing another man outside this very hotel. She emerged from the elevator wearing the navy dress he'd bought her last Christmas. Her eyes widened when she spotted him standing near the fountain, and the color drained from her face. "Dante, what are you doing here?" Her voice cracked with immediate understanding. He walked toward her slowly, each step feeling like breaking glass beneath his feet. Around them, business travelers and tourists moved through the space, oblivious to the private devastation unfolding. "How long?" His voice sounded foreign to his own ears, flat, emotionless. Raina's eyes filled with tears. "It's not what you think. Please, let me explain." "How long, Raina?" He raised his voice slightly, causing a nearby couple to glance their way. 2 weeks, she whispered, hands reaching for him. "But it's over." It meant nothing. "Dante, I made a terrible mistake." He handed her the envelope, and she took it with shaking fingers. When she opened it and saw the divorce petition, a sob escaped her throat. "You can't just throw away 4 years because you betrayed me." Bitterness flooded his words. "Because while I worked extra shifts to save for the house you wanted, you were here with someone else. I know I hurt you." Tears streamed down her cheeks. "But there's so much you don't understand about why this happened. About what I've been going through. Save it for your lawyer." Dante turned toward the exit, his heart shattering with each step. "Dante, please." Her desperate cry echoed through the marble lobby. "Don't leave like this." He paused at the revolving door, looking back one final time at the woman he'd promised forever. She stood there, papers clutched to her chest, mascara running, looking more broken than he'd ever seen her. Without another word, he walked into the cold afternoon, leaving behind everything they'd built together, the unraveling truth. 5 days of suffocating silence passed. Dante buried himself in work at the architectural firm, staying late to avoid their empty apartment. Every corner held memories: the kitchen where they'd danced at midnight, the couch where they'd planned their future, the bedroom where they'd whispered promises. On the 6th morning, a cream-colored envelope appeared under his office door. Raina's handwriting made his chest tighten. "Dante, I know you don't want to hear from me. I know I don't deserve your time or forgiveness. But you deserve the truth, even if it doesn't change anything. For months, I felt invisible. You were working 70-hour weeks, and when you came home, you were exhausted. I tried talking about my promotion stress, about how Marcus was undermining me at every meeting, about how lonely I felt. You'd nod, but I could see you weren't really there. I'm not blaming you, this is on me. When Richard from the London office started actually listening, actually asking about my day, I felt seen again. It started with coffee, then dinners discussing projects. I convinced myself it was just friendship, even as I knew it was crossing lines. That night you saw, it was the first and only time anything physical happened. The moment his lips touched mine, I felt sick. All I could think about was you, about what I was destroying. I ended it immediately. The photo you received? Marcus sent it. He's been trying to sabotage my career for months. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just need you to know that my worst mistake doesn't erase my deepest truth. I love you. I always have. If you can bear it, please meet me at Romano's Cafe tomorrow at noon. Just once. Then I'll accept whatever you decide. Forever yours, Raina. Dante read the letter 3 times, emotions warring inside him. Anger at her betrayal mixed with guilt he'd been suppressing. Had he really been that absent? He remembered Raina trying to tell him about work troubles while he'd scrolled through blueprints, offering distracted reassurances. The next day, he arrived at Romano's 15 minutes early, heart hammering. Raina sat at their usual corner table, looking fragile in a simple grey sweater. Dark circles shadowed her eyes. "You came," she breathed, standing hesitantly. They sat in awkward silence until coffee arrived. Then Raina spoke, her voice raw with honesty. I felt like I was drowning, and you didn't notice I was underwater. She met his eyes. But that's my failure too. I should have demanded you listen instead of seeking validation elsewhere. Dante's jaw tightened. I was working for us. For our future. I know. And I was so proud of you. A tear escaped down her cheek. But somewhere between building our future and living our present, we lost each other. I handled it in the worst possible way. Something cracked in Dante's chest. I did check out, didn't I? We both did, Raina whispered. In different ways. For the first time since the hotel, Dante saw past his rage to the complicated truth beneath. Two people who'd loved each other but had slowly stopped tending that love. This doesn't fix what you did, he said quietly. I know. She reached across the table, stopping just short of touching his hand. But maybe we could both do better. Dante stared at her outstretched fingers, battling every instinct to either grab her hand or flee entirely. Finally, he stood. I need time. As he walked away, he didn't see Raina's face crumple, or the hope that flickered in her eyes despite the tears, because at least he hadn't said no. Fragments of yesterday. 2 weeks later, Dante stood in their apartment surrounded by cardboard boxes. The landlord needed an answer about the lease renewal. Separating their shared life felt like dismembering something living. He opened the hall closet and a showbox tumbled out, spilling contents across the hardwood floor. Movie ticket stubs, restaurant receipts, a dried rose from their first Valentine's Day. His hands trembled as he picked up a napkin with Raina's lipstick kiss and her note, already can't wait to kiss you again, forever won't be long enough. God, he whispered, sinking to the floor amid the scattered memories. His phone buzzed. His best friend Jordan, need you at the Riverside Lodge Saturday. My wedding venue walkthrough. Elena insists. Saturday arrived with spring sunshine. Dante drove to the lodge where he and Raina had married 3 years ago. The gardens were in full bloom, exactly as they'd been on their wedding day. He froze on the pathway. Raina stood near the rose arbor, also clearly attending the venue visit. She wore a soft yellow dress, and the breeze caught her dark hair. Their eyes met across the garden, and the air seemed to thicken. Dante. Elena rushed over. And Raina. Perfect. You two can help Jordan and me visualize the ceremony since you got married here. Neither could explain their separation without ruining Elena's joy. They were trapped in an elaborate charade of marital happiness. Stand where you stood for your vows, Elena directed, positioning them under the arbor. Dante found himself facing Raina in the exact spot where he'd promised her everything. The scent of roses surrounded them, triggering visceral memories. Her hand brushed his as the photographer arranged them, and electricity shot through his skin. Remember how you cried during your vows? Elena laughed. Both of you. So beautiful. Raina's eyes glistened. I meant every word, she said softly, speaking only to Dante. His throat tightened. So did I. Kiss for the camera, the photographer called out. Show us how it's done. They stood frozen, caught in the horrible intimacy of the moment. Then Jordan saved them, laughing and pulling his fiancée away for their own photos. Later, Dante escaped to the terrace overlooking the lake. Footsteps approached. I didn't know you'd be here, Raina said quietly, standing beside him at the railing. Neither did I. Silence stretched between them, filled with everything unsaid. The sunset painted the sky in shades of amber and rose. Do you remember our first dance? Raina asked. You stepped on my dress and we both fell laughing into the cake table. Despite himself, Dante smiled. Your mother was horrified. But you just kept dancing with me, frosting in my hair and everything. Her voice broke slightly. You made every disaster feel like an adventure. Music drifted from inside, the same song from their wedding. Without thinking, Dante extended his hand. Raina stared at it for a heartbeat before placing her palm against his. They swayed together on the empty terrace, bodies remembering what minds tried to forget. Her head fit perfectly against his shoulder. His hand found the small of her back like it belonged there. The familiar scent of her perfume, jasmine and vanilla, made his eyes burn. "I miss you," she whispered against his chest. "I miss us." Dante's arms tightened around her involuntarily. For one suspended moment, they weren't two people shattered by betrayal. They were simply Dante and Raina, who'd once believed love could conquer anything. The song ended. Reality crashed back. Dante released her, stepping away. "I should go." But as he drove home alone, his hands still tingled from where he'd held hers, and he couldn't stop replaying the feeling of her in his arms. The divorce papers sat unsigned on his desk, gathering dust. The slow thaw. Dante woke at 3 a.m., reaching for Raina before remembering the empty space beside him. The wedding venue had cracked something open inside his chest, and now memories flooded in relentlessly. Her laugh at his terrible jokes, the way she'd trace patterns on his back until he fell asleep, their Sunday mornings tangled in sheets and conversation. He grabbed his phone, scrolling to her contact. His finger hovered over the call button for 5 full minutes before he set it down, exhaling shakily. The next morning, a text appeared. "I started seeing Dr. Chen. Individual therapy. I need to understand why I sabotaged the best thing in my life. Not asking you to care, just thought you should know I'm trying to fix what's broken in me." Dante stared at the message. 3 weeks ago, he would have deleted it. Now, he typed back, "That's good. I hope it helps you." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then, "Thank you for responding. It means more than you know." Over the following days, brief texts became their fragile bridge. Raina shared therapy insights with raw vulnerability, how she'd confused attention with love, how childhood abandonment issues made her panic when she felt neglected. Dante found himself responding with his own realizations about emotional unavailability, about using work to avoid difficult conversations. "Dr. Chen says I need to practice transparency," Raina texted one evening. "So here's my truth. I blocked Richard's number. I requested transfer away from Marcus. I'm reading books about rebuilding trust. And every night, I look at our wedding photo and wonder if I destroyed something irreplaceable." Dante's heart clenched. He typed and deleted responses for 20 minutes before settling on, "Nothing's irreplaceable if both people want to rebuild it." His phone immediately rang. Raina's trembling voice. "Did you mean that?" "I don't know yet," he admitted. "But I'm not saying no." Can I see you? Just coffee." They met at a neutral cafe across town. Raina arrived with a folder of printed therapy worksheets, bank statements showing she'd closed the account Marcus had access to, and a timeline of every interaction with Richard, complete transparency laid bare on the table. "I'm not trying to pressure you," she said, hands wrapped around her mug. "I just need you to see I'm serious about change. About becoming someone worthy of your trust again." Dante examined the documents, then looked at her, really looked. She'd lost weight. Dark circles shadowed her eyes. But there was also something new, a clarity, a determination he hadn't seen before. "I started therapy too," he confessed. "Dr. Martinez. Turns out I've been emotionally running from intimacy since my dad left. Work became my excuse to avoid being vulnerable." Raina's eyes widened. "Dante. We both broke this," he continued. "You made the worst choice, but I built the distance that made you feel alone." For the first time, they talked without accusations, just two wounded people trying to understand how they'd arrived at this devastation. Hours passed unnoticed. When the cafe closed, they stood in the parking lot, neither ready to leave. "I should go," Dante finally said. Raina nodded, but as she turned toward her car, she stumbled on the curb. Dante caught her instinctively, hands on her waist, steadying her. They froze, faces inches apart. "Thank you," she whispered. He should have released her. Instead, his thumb traced a small circle on her hip, an unconscious gesture from their past. Raina's breath caught, and heat flared between them despite the cool evening air. Dante forced himself to step back. "Good night, Raina." "Good night," she managed, voice thick with longing. As he drove away, his phone buzzed. "Same time next week." This time, he didn't hesitate. Yes. The divorce papers remained unsigned, now buried under unopened mail, as if he'd forgotten they existed. Rebuilding from ashes. 6 weeks of weekly coffee meetings evolved into something neither had anticipated: genuine friendship rebuilt on honesty. They shared therapy breakthroughs, admitted fears, and slowly, carefully, began rediscovering each other. Dr. Martinez suggested couples counseling, Dante mentioned during their 8th meeting. If you're willing. Raina's face transformed with cautious hope. I'd do anything. Their first session with Dr. Patel was brutal. She forced them to voice every resentment, every hurt, every moment of betrayal and neglect. Raina sobbed through describing the affair's aftermath. Dante's voice cracked, admitting he'd thought about revenge affairs but couldn't because he still loved her. Still. Raina whispered, eyes searching his face. Unfortunately, he said with painful honesty. Dr. Patel assigned homework. 1 shared activity per week, non-negotiable communication guidelines, and vulnerability exercises. They started small, grocery shopping together, cooking dinner at the apartment Dante hadn't yet surrendered. One rainy Thursday, Raina appeared at his office with his favorite Thai food. You mentioned the presentation stress. Thought you could use this. The gesture, so simple, so them, made Dante's chest ache. Thank you. She lingered in the doorway. I remember when you used to bring me midnight coffee during my thesis. You'd rub my shoulders and tell me I was brilliant even when I wanted to quit. You were brilliant, he said softly. Brilliant. Their eyes locked, and something shifted. The careful distance they'd maintained began crumbling. Raina crossed the office slowly, stopping before his desk. I miss touching you, she admitted, voice barely audible. Not just. I miss holding your hand while we watch movies. I miss your arms around me when I can't sleep. I miss being close to you. Dante stood, heart hammering. Raina. I know we're not there yet. I know I have to earn back every piece of what I broke. Tears slipped down her cheeks. But I'm asking, begging, for the chance to try. He reached out, thumb gently wiping away her tears. The touch ignited something dormant between them. Raina leaned into his palm, and suddenly they were moving together, months of longing and restraint combusting in an instant. Their kiss was desperate, searching, tasting of salt and regret and hope. Dante's hands tangled in her hair while Raina gripped his shirt like a lifeline. It felt like coming home and venturing into unknown territory simultaneously. Wait, Dante gasped, pulling back. We need to do this right. Slowly. I know, Raina agreed breathlessly. I needed to know if we still. We still do, he confirmed, resting his forehead against hers. God help me, we definitely still do. That weekend, they attended couples therapy and Dr. Patel helped them establish boundaries for physical reconnect. Rebuilding intimacy requires intention, she explained. Not just passion, but present, conscious choice. They started dating again, actual dates with flowers and nervous butterflies. Movie nights where they held hands tentatively. Long walks discussing dreams and fears. Each gesture was weighted with significance, every touch a conscious act of choosing each other. 3 months after the hotel confrontation, Dante brought Raina back to their apartment. Now officially theirs again, lease renewed. Candles flickered throughout the living room. Her favorite song played softly. What is this? She asked, wonder in her voice. Dante pulled out the divorce papers. Together, they tore them into pieces, letting the fragments fall like snow. I'm choosing us, he said firmly. Not because I've forgotten what happened, but because I believe in what we're building now. A marriage based on truth, effort, and showing up even when it's hard. Raina threw her arms around him, sobbing with relief and joy. I promise to choose you every single day. To be transparent, to communicate, to never take you for granted again. Their kiss was different this time, not desperate, but deliberate. Dante lifted her gently, carrying her to their bedroom. They undressed each other slowly, mapping familiar territory with new reverence. I love you, Raina whispered as he traced kisses down her neck. I never stopped. I love you too, Dante breathed against her skin. Even when I hated you, I loved you. Their bodies reunited with tender intensity, relearning curves and sensitive places, building rhythm together, finding connection deeper than physical pleasure. Afterward, wrapped in each other's arms, tears and laughter mingled in the darkness. We're going to make it, Raina said with quiet certainty. We already are, Dante replied, pulling her closer. Outside, dawn broke over the city, lights spilling through their window like a promise. The road ahead would require constant work, conscious choice, and unwavering commitment. But they were no longer the naive couple who'd married in that rose garden. They were warriors who'd fought through devastation and emerged stronger, wiser, and more fiercely devoted to the love they'd almost lost. Lessons learned. True love isn't measured by never falling, but by choosing to rise together when both have stumbled, bearing each other's weight with grace, forgiveness, and the fierce determination to build something stronger from the broken pieces. Trust, once shattered, can be rebuilt through radical transparency, consistent action, and the courage to be vulnerable even when fear whispers it's safer to protect your heart than risk it being whole again. The deepest intimacy blooms not from perfection, but from two imperfect souls who see each other's darkness and choose to be each other's light, who transform wounds into wisdom and betrayal into a testimony of redemption. Forever isn't a promise you make once at an altar, it's a daily decision to choose love when resentment would be easier, to choose presence when distance feels safer, and to choose growth when comfort tempts you to remain unchanged.